Hey there, Rick Sage, recording at the Rimrock Studios in Bishop, California. Welcome to Season 2 of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, where I speak with retailers, brand managers, athletes, executives, and others in the outdoor biz and share their stories, tips, advice, productivity tricks, and ideas you can use to take your career or business to the next level. Today's podcast is brought to you by InMotion Hosting. I've used InMotion Hosting to host my websites for years. Rick Say's Photos, blogs, Stillwater's Consulting, and the Outdoor Biz Podcast are all hosted with InMotion Hosting. If your New Year's resolution is to publish a blog, produce a podcast, or simply secure a domain name, go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/InMotion and sign up with them today. They make it simple and quick to get a new site up and running with easy installation tools. That's theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/InMotion. Get going today. This episode is with John Salzinger from MPOWERD, makers of the popular LUCIE lights. LUCIE lights have been mentioned as a favorite outdoor gear purchase under $100 by a number of guests on the show, and I love them too. John tells us how the idea came about for the lights and some great work they do helping provide lighting to disaster-stricken areas after earthquakes and hurricanes. Welcome to the show, John. Good to chat with you. How are you doing today?
Oh, doing fantastic, Rick. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, good to chat with you. So, you have an interesting background. Tell us how you gravitated from communications to MPOWERD.
That's a good question. So MPOWERD, which stands for Micro Power Design, is a company that makes solar-powered lights and makes sure that everyone around the planet has the opportunity and access to those off-grid clean lighting tools that many of us were lucky enough to be born with. Right. So you have to be about 2/3 of the Earth has that option and 1/3 of the Earth doesn't. Wow. And so we wanted to try to equalize that and ensure that the entire planet had that ability to build their own capacity. You know, I was in communications at Ithaca. I studied sociology at Hofstra University. So for me, I had sort of a broad-ranging background, and I've done many different things. I've worked for the media at ABC and AP. And then, of course, I've also been in finance and merchant services, a number of other things, run businesses. Yeah, it's been a wide array of a CV. But I guess what it has done for me has allowed me to sort of at least partially master a number of different business skill sets to the point where I was brave enough to co-found MPOWERD. Right, awesome. And MPOWERD is sort of, I guess, for me, an opportunity to not just do well, but to do good, more importantly, and use a CPG product to do so. But obviously communications is a key in all businesses, and that's not any different here. I mean, I was also brought up in New York City with very progressive parents who told me to care about the environment and to care about the human state. And so for me, our product does both. That's great. Yeah. And what was the inspiration for MPOWERD? How did you decide on that as a medium to do good? Yeah, sure. I was in a consulting company with a number of friends, and we were looking at a lot of different products and projects, working with a number of different foundations and businesses in terms of how we could help them, whether it was social media and political campaigns or social trafficking apps, human trafficking apps on mobile platforms for foundations. This was just one that seemed to me, I had been to Haiti early on and after the earthquake and realized that there was a number of areas whereby one could help. You know, and one of them was transportation, another was education, you know, another was medical, another's water, and another's light. And light sort of also touches upon all the others, and provides economic empowerment. So for us, for me, I just felt like it was sort of an underserved product category for underserved communities. So there's been tons of solar lights, LEDs, solar panels, battery communication technologies out there, but nothing that was sort of built for emerging markets. So all the products out there, as important as they are, because really 3 billion people have lack of access or intermittent access, all the products out there are not necessarily built for the rugged nature of these markets. So many of them require maintenance and have moving parts, as an example. Ours don't. Many of them are bulky or large or heavy Ours are not, so that takes care of the transportation of it. Many are not waterproof. Ours is. Ours is lightweight and portable, etc. Very bright. We're lower per dollar on lumens than anyone out there.
Wow.
So for us, we took sort of form and function, aggregated technologies, and came up with 30 plus patents around this solar inflatable category.
That's great. And how did you get to Haiti? What were you doing in Haiti? Just there to help?
Yeah, no, myself and a number of other people, about 30 different people, primarily New Yorkers, went to Haiti to, see what we could do.
Right.
We were on a bus for about a week. We went to Jacmel, to Hench, to Port-au-Prince. It was a very, very different time in Haiti. However, years of sort of global political neglect, along with a terrible disaster at the time, and there's been a number since then, obviously, really left stark images in my mind and
imagine.
in many of the people's there. So some of us, did stuff about it. Others had careers and jobs that already did stuff about it. I think everyone was sort of concerned and sort of up and went there. I know about $3.4 billion was earmarked for Haiti. And, when I was there, this was a couple months after. The capital was still in rubble that really hadn't done much about cleanup even. So, the idea there was sort of not to just sort of hope for a media cycle to continue and hope for philanthropy to kick in, when there's a tax break, et cetera, but to figure out some sort of robust, sustainable properties that a company might hold in which, they could, help people and potentially create resellers, et cetera, in those markets, not disrupt them. So I think, the overall trip was like-minded individuals from New York who wanted to sort of take things into their own hand. And nice to say, even today in this political climate, more people are doing so. So it's important. Yeah.
That was nice to see. Yeah. So, back to MPOWERD. So tell us a little bit about how you have a unique business model and how scale and participation play a role in it.
Thank you for asking. So, with MPOWERD, the more lights that we're able to manufacture, sell, distribute, deploy around the world, whether it's in retail and developed world, well-paved roads, right, for that,
right.
Or emergency preparedness, like the recent hurricanes that have devastated so many areas, natural disasters from California to Mexico to Puerto Rico, Southeast Asia, Florida, all of that leads you to a situation where you end up selling more and more lights, whether it's to NGOs, and we work with everyone from the UN to Oxfam, to retailers, and we work with everyone from Bloomingdale's to the Guggenheim to REI. The more you sell, the more you're able to financially become more stable as long as your margins are correct.
Right.
And that's what we've done. And that allows us, because we're a B Corp and a benefit corporation, so we're judged on both, profit, growth, and impact, but it allows us to have a scaled model, really efficiencies of scale, whereby we can reduce our margins, our shareholders are happy, and we're selling into areas around the world that need light. More importantly, they need value. So that light is sold to them at a price that they can afford.
Great.
And then they can resell it to someone at a price that their buyer can afford. And what you're doing there is you're not disrupting markets, you're creating markets and, again, building capacity.
Right. And there's so many places that need it. Without light, there's so many other things you can't do. It's such an easy, not easy solution, but a simple solution that helps so many people. That's great.
Yeah, it touches on most of the SDGs from the UN, and whether it's literacy or clean light, or medical or safety for children and women and birthing. There's so many things that we take for granted. Obviously, we wouldn't even be able to have this podcast moving out without electricity. I definitely couldn't have got to work. I wouldn't have been able to take a hot bath. All these sort of things you think about, but you don't really. So,
we take so much of that for granted in the U.S. and mostly in the developed world until there's a natural disaster or a hurricane or something like that. But so much of the world, like you said,
and then we have the same problems, right away in an instant, right? And you realize sort of how dire that is, how tough, difficult life can be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, how did you get MPOWERD off the ground? Tell us about how that got started. Bootstrapped it, or what was the process there?
Yeah. Well, we've bootstrapped for just about 4.5 years. We recently got a great investment in from the Builders Fund.
Oh, cool.
So we're pleased about that. And then thanks to our new CEO, Sunga Jung, who came to us via Procter & Gamble, we're in the black.
Great.
So we're a sustainable company doing sustainable initiatives for, communities around the world. So the company started with an angel round, and then we had an A and a B most recently. But in general, it's just sort of been, resilience, having hardworking, smart team members that buy in literally and figuratively to the mission, and work really hard and try to be strong in the ideation phase. We have not spent more than 2% up until the beginning of this year on marketing of our company. And for a startup, that's really unusual.
Yeah.
But it was necessary, right? Because we're a CPG company. We're not a soft goods company. And, it's product and it costs. So we kind of kept it going for a number of years, and then we got a strong investment now. So we feel like we're in a really good position.
Yeah, that's great. Now, how did the inspiration for the product come about? You were a co-founder.
Sure.
Were you obviously part of the design team?
Yeah. So within MPOWERD, one of my co-founders, Jason Snyder, is the principal inventor on LUCIE. And then iterations after that, there's a whole line of items. I have patents that were assigned to the company as well. With product, I like to say that it's never finished, right? So we're always, it's always an iterative process, right? So
Exactly.
We're always continuing to innovate, and we base that on the market. And we based that, just like we did in the beginning, on a need. There was a glaring need, for clean light. 1.5 million children in Africa died just from fires associated with kerosene. And then the numbers around, health, around pulmonary disorders, et cetera, are innumerable, really. It's the reason why many people die in emerging markets. And it's because of pollution. And so for us, we just, we felt that it was necessary to build something, that people could use, but would also sort of, and this is important, be valued in terms of sort of having a wow factor. I mean, this is an interesting lantern, that you blow light into, literally, and it lights up an entire room. Yeah. Or a home, and that's really important,
or a lake,
to ensure
an entire lake. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, you could submerge it. We're IP67, waterproof.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, no, it is important to understand that, humans are humans no matter where you reside, no matter what your upbringing, no matter what your socioeconomic status is, especially when you were born, or where you reside. Right. And people like to have, good quality, beautiful tools that last long. And we realized that. And so this was just about building a tool that people would be proud of and would be a statement. That other people would then sort of say, hey, that seems to work. I like that. I can put it in my pocket, but it'll light up my whole home. So, kid can take it from to and fro school, in Nepal, for instance, and be safe. But he can also extend his hours of homework when he gets home. Right. Otherwise, there's nothing there except, dirty forms of energy or darkness.
Yeah. No, super simple. That's awesome. What were some of the struggles when you were getting off the ground?
I think everything was a struggle. Anyone that gets asked that's gotten a startup up and running or even failed, and I've failed before too. There's, every single aspect of the business, because you're underfunded, you don't have the talent you need. There's only you and a number of people, but there's many more hats than the number of people you have. So you end up wearing multiple hats. But I think the primary focus that I've had, I'm a New Yorker. I work hard. My parents workaholics their whole life. You look at a potential challenge or problem as an opportunity. And we do that to this day. I mean, we've had knockoffs, for instance, in the market.
Oh, interesting.
And we'll reach out to that retailer and say, hey, you're a victim of a knockoff here. And that item is likely, made without the proper surge protection or what have you, because we know of these knockoffs. Sure. And their inadequacies, and that turns into a lead. So that's just sort of a microcosmic example of what we do. Yeah. But that's a mentality, and you got to just keep going. And, it's not that injury. It's how you come back from it.
Right.
And so I think that's kind of the early stage companies and startups that are successful, plus a lot of luck, have that quality.
Yeah, that's true.
Definitely a lot of luck. Yeah.
And how did you gravitate to the outdoor recreation industry? Was that your first channel to sell into, or was it more of, the NGOs and solving needs around the world?
Yeah, so right away, NGO and Amazon were the first two. So the business model was sort of initially established in my mind right away that we wouldn't have been able to just sell into one or the other.
Right.
You have to build a diverse portfolio, and especially if you're going to compete globally. The outdoor industry, it just lends itself to lanterns, right?
It's a natural,
It's a natural, so it's very easy. Emergency preparedness was also easy. Mm-hmm. Lifestyle has become pretty interesting because a lot of people see the wow factor of it and find the sort of elegant design. But we started our first international distribution in any meaningful way in Japan.
Oh, okay.
And Japan has a proclivity to high design in their retail markets. And so we've sort of tested the product in Japan. It did well there. So the U.S. was relatively easy in terms of acceptance.
Right.
Now we've moved into sort of health and wellness. We have like a LUCIE candle. It's waterproof. You can go in a bath or a tent and it's totally safe.
Nice.
And colored lights that go in pools. Paul McCartney, I know, had our lights in his pools. So that's always fun when a Beatle buys your light. Then you're doing okay.
You made it. Right. Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
So are those the only other retail channels? Are you in the hardware channel or home improvement, that kind of thing?
Yep. So we've done a lot of hardware, a lot of franchise, Ace and True Values, etc.
Yep.
A lot of independents. We do all of our independent sales in house.
Okay.
And the team does an incredible job. That's sort of an important vertical because that also diversifies your portfolio.
Right.
There are other channels. Obviously, we are in impact in a big way with 500 plus NGOs, as I said.
Yeah.
But we also recently launched an education tool that we've gotten into major retailers like Barnes and Nobles and some of the larger toy retailers. So it's
Very
a STEM
nice.
product that deconstructs a LUCIE and thereby ensures the next generation won't make the same mistakes that my generation did, right?
Excellent. Yeah, good.
Yeah. And even in emerging markets, you really want that consumer above all to be really well versed and educated in solar so that when they're buying their first solar items for their home, they're not getting something that's not going to work.
Inferior,
and so they can figure out, well, what's the battery, what's the solar panel qualities, and that's important. So we think education around solar today especially is incredibly important. And we think on that note, selling solar, you might think selling solar to a progressive liberal on a coast in the United States is where we go. We sell solar to everyone. Because we think it's even more important, right, to sell sort of to areas where solar may not be as known. But actually the efficiencies and the cost and the ownership of your energy is really what's important. And it happens to work well for the planet.
Yeah, so, that's awesome. I agree with that. Yeah, we need to expose the entire world to that solar concept.
That's correct.
Yeah. How does the outdoor channel compare to some of these other channels? Is it as sophisticated, less sophisticated? Obviously smaller than a number of them, I'm sure.
Sure. Well, we went in first really to outdoor in a large way outside of Amazon and sort of focused our marketing on the outdoor industry and try to get a base, financial base in the company that were stable. So that's actually still our biggest category.
Okay.
However, the other ones are picking up incredibly quickly. And then we found that some of our SKUs that we made for outdoor or for lifestyle crossover, actually most of them. So, you make this, an outdoor light, but you make it potentially with color. And so you think that's going to be more for festivals and holidays, and gifting. And it is. Right. But then all of a sudden, all your outdoor retailers want it too, because like camping, people want to enjoy themselves there too.
Sure.
Same thing with candle. We make an emergency prepared light, LUCIE Emerge. That light is really affordable. Literally, it's 4 inches in diameter, 2.5 ounces. It's a bright flashlight, brighter than your iPhone flashlight.
Wow.
It's a beacon. It's an SOS mode, has a flare. It's a lantern, all in one.
Great.
But this is bought by, gift stores as well. So you don't expect that generally, but it does happen.
Yeah.
So we're in multiple verticals with multiple SKUs, but there's a lot of crossover, and that's a good thing.
That's great.
Actually.
Yeah, it's a good thing for you. Yeah, it's a good thing for you. Yeah. And what are some of the nonprofits that you guys work with? In addition
Sure.
to
So Save the Children's a big one.
Yeah. Okay.
They've been phenomenal. International Medical Corps, very big. We work with, a ton of large ones. The Humane Society is an interesting one. So after disasters to help out, veterinary clinics,
Right.
etc.
Right.
But it's important to mention that we also work with individuals. So when there's these catastrophes, you'd be surprised how many people actually care and want to help.
Yeah.
So they'll call up and we'll try to work with individuals on a basis whereby we offer them the opportunity to participate in such a way. So with Puerto Rico, there were people taking lights there left and right.
Oh, great.
And then entrepreneurs in emerging markets. We'll work with entrepreneurs in emerging markets to ensure that even if we're going through an NGO initially, they might give them their first bit of stock, but after a while they'll be able to buy their own stock. And so you're building,
Gotcha.
Businesses in other countries.
That's smart. Yeah. And shifting gears a little bit, what outdoor activities do you participate in?
Yeah. So when I don't have a child that's under a year, which I do now, I surf.
Okay.
I love to surf. I'm an avid basketball player as long as my knees hold up. Public school athletic league, so I play ball.
Great. Yeah. I bet.
Yoga when I make the time for it, which I need to more often. There's not much stuff I won't do. Anything from, ice skating to tennis, I'll do it all.
Give it a shot.
Those first things are really what I like to do.
Yep.
My favorite outdoor activity is lying on a beach.
Nice. I think everyone loves that.
Yeah, I don't do that. I'm not a solar panel, so I don't do that anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. That's going to be dangerous these days.
Actually, it's true.
And do you have any suggestions or advice for folks wanting to get into the outdoor biz or start a company like you did?
Sure. I think it's important to know your market. The outdoor business is an interesting one. There's a show called Outdoor Retailer we were just at. And actually we won the editor's pick for the best product in the entire show.
Congratulations.
It's kind of wild considering you're going up against the North Face and Osprey and these amazing Patagonia, these amazing brands.
Yeah.
Walking shows like that, talking to people, understanding the market. But then also, there's the outside looking in. There's also the inside looking out. Go camping.
Yeah.
See what you're missing. Solve your own problems. I've always found like that's sort of the best way to do it. And then lastly, be open, learn to listen to others that, you may think you have all the answers. 80% of the time you're probably wrong. And if you're open to listening, and especially to the market, there's a lot of sort of things that are sort of counterintuitive that actually make sense. So once you've built a solution, especially if it's a hard good, keep your ear to the ground. Be humble.
Yeah, keep improving it. That's great advice. I like that. I like the solving your own problems because it's amazing how we go do our various activities and always, I wish there was something that allowed me to do this. And that's right. Bingo, there's an opportunity.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
And do you have any daily routines you use to keep your sanity? You meditate, exercise? Obviously, you play with the 1-year-old.
Yeah. I got a couple cats too. So cats seem to sort of take your stress away somehow.
Yeah.
What else do I do? I dive into work. I do work out in the gym. So I do that. That's a good stress release.
Yeah.
When I have time, I love playing basketball. That's been my psychologist my whole life.
Great.
But friends, family, these are really important aspects of life that, you don't want to lose, although at times it's difficult being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So
you divorce for a moment and then you come back. As long as they'll take you back, you're okay.
Yeah. How many days a week do you get on the court?
On the basketball court?
Yeah.
My last game was last summer.
Oh, man.
So it's not usually like that.
Yeah.
This has been a particularly interesting year at work because not only was Sunga, that's our CEO, and myself, running this company and trying to make a profit, turn a profit, but we were out on the road for investment.
Oh, gotcha.
So it was sort of a whole nother job.
Yeah.
That said, it'll happen as the weather warms up.
Yeah,
I do ride a bike.
Changes soon. Yeah.
I ride a bike to work, maybe half the time. So that helps too.
That's good. Yeah, that helps. Yeah.
But I have sort of stopped off quickly at a basketball court on the ride home.
Take a couple shots.
Don't tell the family, obviously, right?
Yeah.
And take a couple shots. Yeah.
That's great.
Make sure I'm still okay.
There you go. Yeah. And what are some of your favorite books?
That's a good question. So, in terms of, nonfiction, it's something that I've read a lot of, like Bukowski and stuff like that. But most recently, I read more documentary style books, biographies.
Okay.
I've been relatively heavily involved politically recently.
Most of us
based
have.
on the times. Yeah. I mean, a book that I liked recently, nonfiction, I guess, Girl on a Train was good.
Okay,
I enjoyed
good.
that.
Yeah.
I liked The Kite Runner before that.
That's a great book. Yeah.
That's a great book. But I think for me, a lot of it has been just sort of reading what's going on in our democracy and making sure that it's going to survive.
Right.
And looking at every different viewpoint of it. And so that's kind of what I've done. And since I've been sort of busy, I do a lot of Audible, believe it or not. Here's another
I
plug.
love Audible. No, same
Audible's
here.
great.
Yeah.
You can read me a bedtime story anytime, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The challenge is just figuring out where you are in the book when you wake up.
Right. Yeah. No, I love Audible. And this is probably a loaded question, but what's your favorite outdoor gear purchase under $100? One of mine is the LUCIE Light. I got to be straight up. It's just amazing that.
Yeah, I have heard of that product. So for me, it would be literally the LUCIE Pro Mobile.
Okay.
So we've recently come out. Sorry to plug I got to do it.
You got to do it. That's all right.
Got to do it. Yeah. We've come out recently with a mobile charging light.
Oh.
It goes up to 150 lumens, lasts for up to 50 hours.
Cool.
And can charge your phone as well as quick charge in your car or at home.
You were showing that at the show.
So that's something. We were showing that at Outdoor Retailer,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's the one that won the editor's pick. Great. So we're really proud of that. Not just for the camper, because all you need is your light and your phone, but in these underserved communities where many of them are off-grid, but mobile penetration is really high and is the great equalizer. You got to have a charge for it. Yeah. So all they need is a light in their phone.
That's great.
So and that's the other thing. We make the same products here that we make for emerging markets. So it's the exact same product. We don't give one country a better product than another.
Oh, gotcha.
Just because of their political environment, status, etc.
Right. That's great. That's a great tool. Yeah. And as we go to wrap here, anything else you would like to say to our audience or ask of our audience?
No, well, I'd like to say on behalf of Sunga, who couldn't make the call, but couldn't make the podcast, and myself, that we are pleased at what you do, right?
Well, thank you.
Because without getting out, real stories, not fake stories, not fake news, but real news on how the world works and what's necessary. Our planet is in peril. Yeah. And the scientific community is behind that. And it's very important to understand that what we do will have ramifications for our children and our children's children. Yeah. We're not talking about generations away. It's having ramifications today. Yeah. And then in the same note, being able to help people, just other people, that you may not know, but have harder problems than you, believe it or not, when you're having a tough day. Yeah. Maybe just try to think about someone else. As opposed to yourself. It's very easy to get caught up in, the subway was late or, oh my goodness, somebody got in the train before I got off. Who cares at the end of the day? A friend of mine has a cool story where he's in his car and this is his, his anecdote for life. The person behind him's honking at him like crazy. He just turns up his radio. Yeah. That's something that you can do in life. You should remain positive, and try to look for how you can provide value to others.
Yeah, no, that's a very important message these days. Yep. It's a crazy world out there right now, and
we'll fix it.
Oh yeah, it's all cyclical. Yep. And how can people get a hold of you if they want to reach out? LinkedIn, email. What's the best way?
Oh, absolutely. LinkedIn, okay. John Salzinger. That's the easiest. Of course, you can also reach out to the company and find me there. It's MPOWERD.com. So it's MPOWERD.com.
Great. And we'll link to all that in the show notes. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Well, thanks, John. It's been great meeting you and great chatting with you, and hope to see you again soon.
Oh, thank you, Rick. Have a great one. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation with John Salzinger. You can catch up with him on LinkedIn. Salzinger is spelled SALZINGER. And check out more about the company at MPOWERD.com. That's MPOWERD. You find links to everything we discussed in the show notes at theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/episodes/077. This episode received support from Scott Oshman of the Caring Company. I had Scott on the show back in October. you can listen to episode 044, and he also joined the panel conversation I held at Outdoor Retailer. Thank you, Scott. Thanks for listening. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. I've used Audible for many years now. I'm on the road a lot, and Audible allows me to enjoy the great books I discover or are recommended by friends. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/theoutdoorbizpodcast. There are over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Start your 30-day free trial with Audible today. If you want more of the Outdoor Biz podcast, you can subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcast. Be sure and go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com where you'll find all the episodes, show notes, and much, much more. Thanks for listening, and until next time, be sure and make time to get outside.